Hi everybody, we're going to explore a tool today called Jamboard. This is a way for us to have a virtual whiteboard that we can share with students or small groups. We can assign through Google Classroom, many different applications, but wanted to take a quick run through and give you some ideas of how you could implement this, use it in classes. So a couple different ways to get to Jamboard. One is to click New and More, and you'll find Jamboard right there in Google Drive. And this can be organized into your folders just the same as any of your other documents, slides, things like that. Or my method of preference is to use my Google Apps waffle up on the top and select Jamboard from there. What this does is it allows me to see all of my boards in one space. And I'm going to start today by creating a new board. So I'm going to click my plus button, and that's going to open my new jam. I'm going to title this whatever is most appropriate for my class. And I'm going to point out a couple of different features to Jamboard. One is the share button up on top. This is a quick, easy way to share with your students if you're doing more of a one-on-one kind of situation. You can always use this within a Google Meet just to kind of show your thought process by sharing your screen. But if you want students to be able to interact in the same space, you would add them the same as you could add them to a docs or a slide deck or something like that. You can also get a shareable link, so you can change that to restrict it to Racine Unified or make that public, whatever your preference is for that particular class. So a number of things we can use Jamboard for. This can be just kind of a drawing space. So I've got my pen over here on the side, and this works really nice with touchscreen computers and tablets. If I click on there twice, I have a pen, I've got a marker, a highlighter, and a paintbrush, and just a very select few different kinds of tools that you can use for and colors you can use with. I have my eraser, so I can come in and erase this. And if I was using my stylus, this would be a lot easier to draw on. I've got my pointer so I can move things around. I'll show that feature in a minute. I have a sticky note where I can put some directions and I can change that color. You can change some formatting things with the sticky note. I could make this angled a little bit. I can move it around and I can make it bigger or smaller. But I can't make that rectangular instead of a square, for example. I'm going to delete that. I can insert an image, and there's a couple of nice ways to do that. Is I can drag and drop an image here. So if I wanted to pull over a picture, let's say of a math problem that I'm working on with students, I just drag that from my desktop over. This was a snip picture of that particular problem. And what this allows students to do is actually write in this space. So if they were to take their pen, and I'm selecting my pen, they can actually write that ordered pair right there on that line. They can also graph in the same space. So if I was working on graphing with students and wanted to make sure they knew that the first point belonged right there, they can follow my thought process in that way. To get to a different jam, they're almost like slide boards is how they're usually referenced. So I can come over to the top and I can arrow over to my next frame, or I can expand this and see all of what I have going on. So I'm going to work on frame 2. And I'm going to add a different image. So I can do a Google image search. And I have a number of images that come up. And maybe this is a situation where I want students to look at an image, maybe annotate certain things. They could come and they could highlight some of what they see in that picture. So they could say, you know, oh, maybe I really like those earrings, and they could annotate something over on the side. Going to another frame, the laser pointer is a nice addition. I can pull over, let's say, a English example. So I'm going to plunk in here a bit of text, perhaps, that we're using in my class. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for students. And I can use that laser as kind of a fadeaway call out. So if I'm working with a group of students and I really want to emphasize the place, I can kind of circle and have that fade away in the background. Again, the nice thing is, as you share this with students and allow them editing access, they can do things right in here, like let's say highlight the main idea of whatever that text is. This can be shared through Google Classroom to make one copy per student if that's interactive, like this is something that you want kids to do, or you can use that more in a live setting as you're collectively talking about certain things to, again, share your screen, share maybe this paragraph of text, and then more in a whole group kind of setting, call out the main idea to things. Or again, with your teacher tools, better be able to do things like annotate specific things that you want to call out and study with your students. So that's a nice, easy way to get the feel of an interactive whiteboard in a virtual setting. One additional tool that's kind of nice, if I arrow over to a new space, is I can change the background quite easily, and this can be adapted for multiple uses. I kind of have my polka dots, or if this is more of a writing space, I can insert some lines. If I'm doing some graphing work, I've got a grid in the back. So this can be a nice way for students to not actually be able to move that background image and still to be able to work in that space and to write in that space. So that's something to consider as well as you think about future applications.